Hey y'all, it's Rebecca. So I just wanted to do this video with this wonderful woman here, Diane. I actually met her husband. I bought a wobble chair for my desk off of Facebook Marketplace. And basically I was having a really bad day with the whole breast cancer thing. I was scared, I was traumatized, I was depressed, very depressed that day. And God put 4 people in my path that day to help lift me. So this is Diane Quinn, and I just wanted her to share her story because her husband told me her story and then his cancer story, and I was just blown away. So the purpose of me doing this is letting women know that if you have cancer of any type, you're not alone, including men, you're not alone. There are people out there who, I think I've learned that there's a lot of people who have gone through this alone and didn't tell anyone. And I can't imagine doing that just because the state of mind that you're in and how vulnerable you can feel. So Diane, if you just kind of want to introduce yourself and tell your story, and we can kind of talk about it and see how things
Sure.
go.
So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Diane, and I am a mom of 4 sons and a wife to Anthony, and I'm also a middle school math teacher.
Awesome.
I did not have any breast cancer in my family and was actually kind of just following my mom's lead, and she got her mammogram every 2 years, and that's what she did, and so that's what I did, and really didn't think much of it, and didn't enjoy it, so so that was okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's not
And
really a pleasant experience, is it?
no, no, not at all. So one day I was teaching, and I was at the board, and I had this just tremendous itch on my breast, and I could not figure out what it was. And obviously, teaching middle schoolers, you can't do much about it at the time.
Right.
So I thought, I'm like, is this a bug bite? I did not know what it was. So um finished the day, went into the bathroom to look, and there was nothing there. So I was like kind of messing around to try to figure out. And when I pushed, I found a lump.
Hmm.
And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So that was on a Friday, and I didn't tell anybody the whole weekend, but I, of course, Google searched everything. And, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So my search took me to, you know, lumpy breasts are normal. They become more dense and they change. So I kind of didn't worry too much.
Yeah.
But Sunday night, I did tell my husband, and I said, I don't want you to worry. I said, I'm due for a mammogram anyway, so I'm just going to go in. So I went in on April Fool's Day.
Oh, goodness.
I know. I was like, is this weird or
Of all
what?
days.
Yeah. And so they just did the sonogram, and they said, well, we see what you feel, but it doesn't look like anything. I'm not sure that she was supposed to say that. And they're like, but we need to do the biopsy. The biopsy like sent me to the moon.
Yeah.
Where my tumor was, it was where all the nerves connect in your breast. And so the numbing shot, the needle is really long, and the
Yeah.
numbing shot, that was probably the one of the most painful parts of that process. Um, and then I went home, and I was in a lot of pain, and we are not the type of parents that shield anything
Yeah.
from our kids, and they were 18, 16, 14, and 13. So they
Mhm.
were teenagers, but we weren't sure how much they could handle or not handle. But because I was hurting, we said, hey, mom had a little, a biopsy. It's probably nothing. But just, respect that she's not feeling great. So the way that the the policy of where I had my um, scan done, everybody has to go in for results, no matter if you have good results or bad results.
Right.
So one of my friends who was a breast cancer survivor, Susan, I had just a couple of people praying for me because I really didn't feel like I needed a lot, but she was one of them.
Mhm.
And so she said, okay, well, when are you going to get your results? And I said, Thursday. and I'm going to go after school. And so she's like, okay. And my husband's like, let me go with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's in the middle of the day. It's across town. I'm fine. I'm just going to go in. They're going to tell me everything's fine. I have lumpy breasts and I'll go home.
Mhm.
So I pull in and then a car pulls in next to me and it's my friend Susan.
Oh,
And I said, what are you doing here? And she's like, I don't even know. She said, I was working at my desk. And the next thing I know, I grab my purse and I'm in the car and here I am.
oh,
And I said, this is going to be a waste of your time. She goes, that's fine. We'll go get a Coke afterwards and we'll catch up. I
yeah.
said, okay. So we're waiting in the waiting room. They call me back. They sit us down and they said, you have invasive breast cancer. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So
Repeat that, please.
yes.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
my friend pulls out her notebook and just starts writing everything down because I don't think I heard one word after
Right.
that.
Good for her. Wow.
And I was in there, for a long time because they were going through all the motions. And after like 30 minutes, my husband starts texting me, what's going on? I'm waiting, call me. And then like an hour later, he's like starting to freak out. I'm
Yeah.
worried. So we got in the car, we called him. He met me at my school where I teach because I just left. I didn't bring any of my stuff home with me. And I teach in a Catholic school and I have an amazing community. And they just lifted me up and surrounded me like I can't even tell you. And it makes me emotional, even just thinking about it, because I'm
Yeah.
so blessed.
Mhm.
Um, so my did the scan, and originally they phased it at one, because it was one lump that had they didn't see any markings, anything showing up on the scans in my lymph nodes. Everything else looked fine. So they recommended a lumpectomy, which is what I did.
Yeah.
And then my the glands that they dye to see, all three of those were filled with cancer. And then
Really? Okay.
and my margins weren't clear.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, this is unexpected.
Just for having an itch, like,
Yes, right.
and it seems all of a sudden, doesn't it?
It did. It felt like it was like that. And then I'm on this like whirlwind,
Yeah.
process.
And
Um,
Diane, if at any time this is too emotional, you can stop.
yeah,
Okay.
thank
It's
you.
a lot.
It is a lot, but I also, I mean, we we're breast cancer sisters are called to walk these walks together.
Yeah, and it's a time of vulnerability, like, and it's hard to show that vulnerability too, which I have been sharing on my own because I know that it helps you feel better for one, but then it's hard to show it at the same time. So if at
Yeah.
any time you have to stop, please do, and we can do the rest at different time, and that's totally fine. Okay, no pressure at all here. So
Um, so the kind of cancer that I have is lobular, and what I was told after the fact is that the tumor doesn't usually form until um or it's more like, it's kind of like an octopus. It has a tumor and then it has like these fingers that
yeah,
extend out, and the fingers don't show up on scans,
that's interesting.
just kind of the tumor part.
Yeah,
So so the fact that my margins weren't clear is because of those fingers, cancer fingers. So the surgeon said I would definitely recommend doing removing the right breast. And he said, I can pretty much guarantee that we'll be back in 5 years if I don't remove the left one. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this
yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
So I did both. And so my staging changed to a 3, which sounded scarier.
Yeah,
Um, you know, my the day that we found out about the cancer, my boys, one of them was at work, one of them was on a religious retreat, and the other two were home. And um, you know, my son at work, he's like, Dad, what are the results? What are the results? And so Anthony is like, I've got to tell him. And I said, I know, but you've got to go in to work. You can't text him. So my husband, he worked at Price Chopper. And so my husband went in, and as soon as my son saw him, he just was like, whoosh,
yeah.
lost it.
Yeah.
And then we went to go pick up my son on the retreat. And, you know, for the same reason, he's like, what's going on? What's going on? And he lost it. And my number 3 son like ran out the door, and he just is running in the neighborhood. And then my youngest son, he's like, okay. I said, do you have any questions? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, what's the question? He's like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, okay,
The
okay.
13-year-old, right?
Yes, right. So it kind of, you know, kept me grounded for that
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
that, okay, we still need to eat. We still need to meet the basic needs of the teenage boys that live in our house.
Right.
But I had to go through, you know, both of those surgeries. The surgery is difficult.
Did you do 2
And
separate, or one did
I
it
did,
all at once?
so I did the lumpectomy, and then I did the double
Gotcha.
mastectomy, and all of my lymph nodes were filled with cancer, and my skin had cancer on it, and it was kind of all consuming in my right breast, but
With
nothing in my left.
with no family history at all.
No family history, and no sign other than that itch. That, and you know what, here's the thing, is that as soon as I found the lump, the itch went away.
Really?
So
Wow.
I was like, this is divine. The
Yeah.
Lord, you know, if I would have waited those 6 months,
Yeah.
so waited until the end of summer when I was technically due in my mind, it could have been a stage 4 by that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Really.
so I am thankful. Did the surgery, and then did the chemo. And on my last day of chemo, my school gave me a surprise parade where, and I was so mad at my husband.
Your husband told me this, and this is when
He
I
does.
really broke down. I was like, oh my gosh.
My gosh. So he's saying, he's like, hey, on your last chemo, I think I want to go a little early and get a coffee. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why are you thinking of yourself on this day? I was so, which is so unlike him. And I was
Yeah.
so mad. And then he's like, you know what? Let's go drive by the old business and see what it looks like. And I thought, are you losing your mind? I'm like, you know how hard this is for me.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And so he's like, fine, forget it. And so he's like, I'll just turn around at your school. So I turn around, and there's the whole school and the parents and the teachers waving signs and balloons, and the
Aw,
news was there.
that's
And I
awesome.
mean, it was the most amazing. I feel like that's what heaven's going to feel like when I get there.
Yeah.
You know, everybody cheering, you made
Yeah.
it. So it was amazing. And then, you know, then I had radiation, and that was hard in a different way.
Yeah.
Not as grueling, but I don't know. I think you're over everybody looking at you and poking at you and prodding you and all those things. And then I had to have my ovaries removed
Yeah.
because mine was hormone fueled.
Mm-hmm. The
Um,
estrogen and the progesterone.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, bye bye.
Yeah.
And then now I'm on Arimidex,
Okay.
because they want me to be on that for 10 years.
Yeah.
It was challenging the first few months. I was scared, first of all, because I was
Yeah.
reading all the side effects.
Right.
And I said, I don't want to take this.
Yeah.
And my oncologist said, you will not survive if you don't. So I was like, okay. So the first few months were hard, but the hardest part was my um I felt like all my joints hurt
Yeah.
really, really bad.
I've heard that.
But these blogs, these breast cancer blogs, and my nurse navigator were so helpful, and they told me to start taking magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
So I read this book called The Magnesium Miracle when I
Mm-hmm.
was sick.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started taking the magnesium on a regular basis, all of that uncomfortableness went away.
Really?
Yeah. It
Okay.
was a huge change on a good note
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I wasn't sleeping very well, and the magnesium helped that too.
Right. Right.
Even now, if I accidentally forget to take the magnesium, I won't sleep well.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, why didn't I take it? But I try to take it with dinner every night, and that just helps me a ton.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that the feedback I got was, oh, that first year is going to be hard.
Hmm.
But it was, yes, it was hard. But all I really needed to focus on was resting, healing, um, and that was the majority of it. That second year of you're kind of digging your way out of the year that you haven't done anything that was, I wasn't exercising, I was barely eating.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're kind of digging your way out. And I think some people who don't understand are like, oh, she's better now, she's normal now. And my energy level, oh my gosh, I would teach all day and then I would go home and go to bed
Yeah.
and I would just sleep through the night to the next day. And,
Hmm.
did that for a long time. Um, but what happens is you just build and you get a little stronger and you get
Hmm.
a little stronger, and you turn around and you look at the mountain that you just climbed behind you.
Yeah.
You're like, I can do anything
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
So, I'm forever changed, but maybe for the better,
Yeah. It's a
you
different
know?
chapter, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what do you feel like are the main, I mean, obviously you have a very supportive husband and family, it sounds like.
I do.
What else do you feel like your church family, your school,
Yes.
obviously, inwardly with you, what do you feel like really helped get you through and face each day? I mean, there are hard days. There's going to be hard days for anyone, regardless of the
Right.
situation, but this is a whole different beast. What do you feel like really, were there some things that you did that really kind of changed how well you coped with everything?
Well, I think the first piece that was the most important was my faith.
Okay.
Um, and I am a type A personality control freak.
Aren't all of us moms?
Maybe. With a splash of nurse and teacher, then
Right,
there's,
right.
even more.
We control our environment, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I felt like I just had my arms wide open and I said, I am surrendering everything to you.
Yeah.
Let me
Amen.
tell your story of love and trust. And I just surrendered it all. I mean, I
Yeah.
literally just laid it all at the foot of the cross and said, this is yours, and you're just going to have to carry it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was um, the honest to goodness um, saving grace for me.
Amen. That's good.
The, the other part that just kind of organically happened is friends that I hadn't seen in years were kind of coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And so my chemo treatments were turning into like reunions.
Hmm.
And so I would had all these friends come and we got in trouble every time because we were too loud. And so they started putting us in the back. Um, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm I'm getting to see all these people that I love and that I haven't seen and maybe wouldn't if something like this didn't happen. It's those little gifts that you get along the way when you're
Hmm.
going through something difficult
Yeah.
that you just appreciate, and you know what they are. You
Yeah.
know that they're gifts. Just
Hmm.
like, when my husband met you, I mean, we were
Who
just
would
two.
have thought
Yeah, right. We were going to
that
a
you guys
volleyball
went through
game
that?
and we had
Yeah.
this and let's meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's a gift.
Hmm. It is.
So you have to look for those gifts, but sometimes you don't even have to look for them because
Yeah.
they just show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
I also one other thing that was actually really helpful is I went to Spirit of Health, which is a um like an out of the box um organic kind of
A
a
naturopathic
place.
place.
Yes.
Hmm.
And this was, um, I did it kind of twice when I was going through the chemo and I just couldn't eat anything except for mashed potatoes. It was
Yeah.
felt like I was pregnant again, you know, it was the only thing I wanted was mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't healthy. And so I was trying to, I'm like, what can I eat? But nothing just sounded good. And so I got some supplements from them that kind of helped me. And then, but even more so was when I was trying to, the climb out and trying to feel normal again.
Yeah.
I talked to them and they gave me some advice on these are the things you need to eat. Um, obviously, colorful plate with fruits and vegetables, but
Yeah.
they're like, stay away from anything with the box. Don't eat anything with the box. And then I got some supplements, and one of them was this thing called Mitro ATP, I think is
Uh-huh.
what it was called.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a little droplet on my tongue every day. And oh my gosh, that I just think my cells were probably screaming for something
Energy.
energy. Yeah. And this was just, it was like refueling them. Um, and then that helped me to walk. And pretty soon my husband and I were walking 5 miles a day.
That's wonderful.
And it just, like I said, you're climbing a mountain,
Yeah.
but you're not climbing it alone.
Yeah.
And if you are climbing it alone, um, there are people that will walk it with you. It goes
Yeah.
back to don't interrupt somebody's journey to help you. It's humbling for us to say yes to that. Um, but that's their gift.
Yeah.
And we can't rob them of that
Right.
either.
Right.
That brings people joy as well.
Yeah. It does help other people, the companionship too. And you never know, they maybe need it too. So
Right.
yeah, I was talking to your husband because I talked about like we got rid of all the plastic. I threw out all my
Yes.
Tupperware. I donated all of it. I was like,
Yep.
I was using a plastic double insulated water bottle at the gym every day. And I
Hmm.
usually would go to the gym and lift every day, which I haven't been in a while since
Yeah.
surgery, but got rid of all that. I got a bamboo cutting board.
Hmm.
I am only using cast iron skillets and stainless steel. He said you guys are doing the same.
Same. Yep.
So a lot of this ties into like the importance of recognizing what's in our environment.
Right.
Like we don't even realize all the things in our environment that cause genetic mutations.
Right.
Like I only use Castile soap now for my body wash. I only use organic like face wash. I'm only using vinegar water to clean.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys are doing the same thing. Like, so I'm going to be going to the Reardon Clinic on the 31st, actually. So
Okay.
the Spirit of Health is probably similar. It's a naturopathic place.
Yeah.
And then I do work for a functional doctor. So another reason why I wanted to do this is increasing awareness to people before you get sick. Like, evaluate everything that's around you. How are you sleeping? How are you
Right.
managing your stress? And the spiritual component is it's all part of it.
It is.
Our medical system has specialized and compartmentalized everything about who we are because of insurance, obviously, and billing, but it's all one and it's all intertwined. And when something is off, it's going to affect something else. So, and I had talked to so many, like friends started contacting me as well. And I was just like, I didn't realize like there's one woman that I worked with at hospice. She dealt with breast cancer 13 years ago. I had no idea. Like I worked with her, a couple years and she seemed fine and nothing, so, so I had my lump and 4 nodules, 4 lymph nodes removed. Luckily they were clean and my margins were fine. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so I don't want to do radiation. I don't want to do tamoxifen. Like
Right.
I'm resisting. I'm like, look, I still have swelling in my armpit. My tissue is hard. Like it's like a rock under my incision site. Like, why do you want to go and like burn my skin now? And then you just want to go and like knock out all of my female hormones because I have the estrogen and progesterone receptor positive ones too. And it's just like, I'm trying to balance like the East meets the West, the conventional and the interventional, and understand like not everyone is textbook, like I watched the whole Chris Beat cancer series because he cured himself of stage 3 colon cancer with drinking 64 ounces of cold pressed juice every day.
Right.
Only eating salads, for 90 days, like completely overdosing on nutrition and giving him the bodies. And he's been cured for 11 years.
Right.
Without chemo. And he even regrets surgery. And then I started regretting surgery. I'm like, okay, like I need to stop. I need to be at peace with what it's at right now. And at this point, I'm okay with radiation, but I still don't want tamoxifen because it scares me.
Yeah.
You know, I need to have a hysterectomy anyways. I was like, why don't you just cut it all out? So why did they still, if you got your ovaries taken out, and do you still have your uterus? I'm assuming you.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
And they told me that my cancer, I think is linked to ovarian sometimes.
Right.
And so they, wanted that disconnect also to not be there. And they told me I could have a complete hysterectomy, but I was like, if I have to have one more big surgery, it was just too much. And they said it really didn't need to happen, but they were like, we're in there, we can do it.
Okay.
Your body still produces hormones through other places.
Right.
And that's why,
will kick in.
yes, we needed to block those hormones.
So Arimidex was the best option for you, not tamoxifen?
Because this is the way it was explained to me, because my staging was more advanced.
Okay.
I guess this was a bigger gun to throw at it.
Okay.
And I think they also said, I mean, I was 50 when I got diagnosed, and they called me young, and I was like, thank you. But I think, even younger women, I think tamoxifen is more of the select.
Okay. So with the Arimidex, which I heard my friend said she, like, her hands started hurting the first day she was on it. It was uncomfortable. So with doing the supplements and eating well and cleaning your environment, you really feel like that it's been tolerable for you.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's like, because your husband's like, look, she had her surgery, she did the chemo, she did the radiation, she's on the meds, and she is at this game with me, and I need her, and we're good. Like, like, he's like, I want to go first. Like, she's here with me at this game, and I don't care what the situation is, she's here with me. So it's encouraging. Like, I appreciate, like, my situation is nothing compared to yours, because he told me about, like, the chemo and all of that, and it's like, I appreciate you telling your story, and I really do. And like, I just hope that, if you notice anything else, or anyone else who would love to share their story, do let me know. And, I'm okay with, I think awareness is important, and support and community are all so important. And I really appreciate you doing this. So
well, thank you for giving survivors a voice, to let other women that are in the midst of it to know that it is hard.
Yeah.
But you will get through it.
Yeah.
And you'll be stronger. You'll be a badass. Yeah. A bigger badass.
Really. Like, coming out on the other side of this makes you, it definitely gives you, it humbles you, but it also gives you strength. So, and it's not our own strength either. So
no. And I think that's another lesson or reminder that I think I'm relying on my own strength, but I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
We're not. I appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We'll see about doing some future things, or if anyone else ever wants to share their story, feel free to contact me and let me know. Bye.